Home buyers in British Columbia, there's a $50,000 GST trap waiting to catch you. Most people don't even see it coming until it's too late. So today, I'm going to show you exactly when GST applies in real estate and when it doesn't, and how to avoid one of the most expensive mistakes you can make in the Kelowna or anywhere in British Columbia. GST is one of the most common and costly confusions in BC real estate right now, and it is making big waves. So much so, they've had to add specific parts to the contract purchase and sale that makes and discloses that GST is applicable or it is included in the purchase price. There's been so many lawsuits in that the British Columbia BCREA has gone through and changed the documents. It's Mark Coons here with Selling Kelowna Real Estate Group, and today we're breaking down GST in simple terms when it comes to real estate. And keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm just a real estate professional, so I'm giving you my value, but definitely need to also get your own personal accounting advice and legal advice if you think GST might be applicable. This is just going over and knowing the questions you should ask. So if you're buying used construction or used a home, somebody that's been living there, normal mom and pop kind of situation, you can probably assume that GST is not going to be applicable in your purchase. However, you still want to ask the question, especially if there's some evidence of either some sort of rental ability or if it is a relatively new property, because sometimes there is situations, and we're going to break it down, some situations where the current sellers might have deferred the GST. And it could be a 10-year-old building, and GST could be applicable on your purchase. So if you just get one thing out of this video is just don't assume, because you know what happens when you assume. Make an ass out of you, but don't just assume that GST is applicable. Ask the questions and make sure. So normally on resale homes, GST isn't applicable. But there's exceptions for commercial, short-term rentals, or if the seller is GST registered. So is GST applicable on new construction homes? Yes, absolutely. GST will apply. So if you're writing a contract on new construction homes, you're going to be plus GST. You can have it included in the purchase price. That is really going to depend in what the developer or the seller, the builder, is willing to negotiate. Really, you're just going to be buying at a plus 5%. And then you also have to check in with your lender. If your lender is okay, and if the property will appraise, adding the GST into the purchase price. So just know. So GST will be applicable to pre-sales, brand new builds, and majority of renovated homes. Renovated homes, if it's recently been renovated, is a big opportunity where a lot of people are also missing the boat on used residential. So the federal, there are rebates that are applicable, and you can file for up to rebates, but you just need to break it down. One area also to look at GST is on leasehold land. This is the Westbank First Nation land. Sometimes GST can apply differently. Sometimes GST isn't applicable on new purchases. So this is something where you want to get some proper legal or accounting advice, especially if you're looking at Westbank First Nations land. You don't want to assume it's applicable and pay it if you don't have to. So there's also an opportunity there. And another hidden trap is on rental properties. So when they are purchased brand new, buyer also has the opportunity to register for GST, but to defer the payment of the GST on the purchase price. So we often see this on short-term rental properties, and we also see it, we can see it lots in big whites. You can have a 20 to 30-year-old building where when they haven't sold it since, and they're the first-time home buyer, they're the first owner of the property, and they've deferred GST right from the get-go. then GST is most likely applicable. So you have to make sure as a buyer, you're including it in the purchase price or taking it into account in your closing costs. And as a seller, you want to make sure you know ahead of time. And that's why we put it in our listing document to make sure you're known if any GST is applicable. You need to talk to your own accountant to find out if it is applicable or not. So if you're thinking about buying new construction or even resale in Kelowna, don't make a $50,000 mistake. Reach out and I'll walk you through the steps, the numbers, where to know and what to know about. And if you want to get a link to our what question to ask when you're making a purchase, drop a link below or just reach out, give us a call. We'll send you our personalized documents that we offer home buyers and also home sellers in the marketplace to know if and ask the right questions if GST will be applicable.